Hi everyone, it's Sam, NFT Statistics, and this is your Proof Daily NFT Countdown. It's just another Manic Monday. The next line of that song is Wish It Were a Sunday, but I actually don't wish it were Sunday. I'm glad to be here on a Monday talking to y'all about NFTs. A lot to talk about today. Kind of a crazy weekend. A lot of sales that were pretty interesting. Some Squiggles minted that were pretty awesome. Crypto world went a little bit crazy, I guess. Let's get right into it. Starting off with a quick market overview. Volumes were down over the weekend. It was actually the lowest volume weekend that we've had basically since July of 2021. Weekends have always been slow, so it's kind of hard to measure apples for apples, but I did it with this chart. And what you can see is we only did about 11,000 ETH of volume this weekend, both days put together, maybe 12,000. The second lowest weekend was 15,000, so down about 30% from the prior low. So very, very slow. In terms of prices, sort of flat to down a little bit. I threw this arrow in because I was looking at this chart, and what's kind of interesting is that even with that elementals blip, going into the elementals kind of downturn, there actually was a little bit of a pump in this index because people kind of pumped up Azukis into that big event and then they tanked. But if you remove that whole period, we're kind of just on the same trend that we've been basically ever since incentivized bidding began early February. So I thought it was kind of interesting just how consistent this down move has been in the large cap index. In terms of over the weekend, CloneX, Guttercat strong, sort of. Moonbird's a little bit weak. Other projects pretty much flat. Mid cap index also was down a fair bit. And the real kind of outlier here was crypto dick butts, which were down 42%. Let's look at that. Here is the chart. Went from about 1.2 ETH to about 0.7 ETH. So really fell sharply. What happened? Well, Crypto Dick Butts announced on their Twitter that they're launching Crypto Dick Butts Series 4, the project that you know and love, the one that you've seen, kind of the meme, $10 memes. That is Series 3. They said they're launching Series 4. But after that is over, they're going to be passing on the Twitter account, the Discord, their collections, a multi-sig treasury spot, and other Crypto Dick Butt assets to whoever owns the most CDBs at the end or 30 days after season 4 mints out. And they have these different multipliers. So they're basically, the dev team is basically saying, we're handing this over to whoever is next. Clearly, the market did not respond well. I think, generally when you buy into a project, you like the IP, you like the NFTs, but you also like the team. So when the team suddenly says that they are leaving and they're turning it over to a single holder, and you don't even know who that holder is, it could be a good holder, it could be a bad holder. Who even knows? It's like doing this based on who is the largest holder is a very arbitrary way to hand over everyone's kind of IP and the project that people feel connection to. And not too surprisingly, we saw a lot of weakness in the project as a result of that. I believe that season 4 is minting for 0.065 ETH. So some people are buying it, but who knows? I'm not a holder of this project. Just thought that was a newsworthy thing to talk about. In terms of our projects over the past 24 hours, not a whole lot of volume, but a few big sales over the weekend. Let's look at those. A pipe Squiggle sold for 49 ETH. Then, pipe is the rarest type of Squiggle, but this is still a pretty punchy price. We've been seeing sales kind of in that 30 to 40 ETH range. So very nice sale there for 49 ETH. We have an anti-cyclone, which sold for 8.5 ETH, an archetype in the lower right here, which sold for 8.56, and then a memories of Ilan for 4.8 ETH. Second thing to talk about, new Squiggles Mint. And as I've talked about before, Snowfro, when he minted the original project, decided to keep a few hundred Squiggles that would not be able to be minted in that beginning. And he has slowly allocated those out. And he currently has allocated all of them out. So there's no more question about who's going to get those final mints. They have not all minted yet, though. We know who the last ones are going to get minted by, but they have not yet been minted. On Friday, 50 more got minted, primarily by loyal Artblocks community members. So it's kind of within the Artblocks community that they gave these Squiggles. Let's have a look. Here are 49 of them. That's kind of a bird's eye view, but digging into some of the more interesting ones. One of the more interesting things that happened was within harmonic Squiggles. Okay, this is a harmonic Squiggle. It was one that minted. It was also sold for 14 ETH, so really sold quite quickly. But what are harmonic Squiggles? What you can see in the left here is that the Squiggle this is what's called a ribbed Squiggle. And the rib of every Squiggle has a certain color, and here it's gray. The other thing that you may or may not know about Squiggles is that if you click on a Squiggle and push spacebar, you're going to rotate through different background colors and get 8 different background colors. Now, it is called a harmonic Squiggle if the color of the rib is identical to one of those 8 background colors. And there are less than 40 that are harmonic, so it's a pretty rare type. They don't trade that often. The last one that traded in August of 2022. So before this one to curate it had been a year since they had traded. They tend to trade around 1.5 to 2 times the price of the floor. So, a mini grail, but here you had one that was one of these 50, a gray harmonic, and that sold to curated. Another one, and this one's even more interesting. This is called a ghost. And why is it called a ghost? Is because it's a harmonic where the rib is pure white, and that white blends in perfectly with that original white background. So this was a ghost white harmonic that also minted. Now, what's really interesting about these is there are only 4 in existence that are pure white harmonics. It's actually only 1 a pure black harmonic, but there are only 4 pure white harmonics. And the other 3 have basically never traded. Let's have a look at the other 3. There's one upper left, upper right, and lower left. These are the only other 3 white harmonics out there. The one in the upper left, I believe, one of these 2, I'm not sure which one of these 2 did trade 7 hours after minting to Snowfro. Snowfro was like, this is a ghost harmonic. I got to own one. He bought it from the minter within 7 hours of being minted. The other 2 have never traded. This one in the upper right, a hyper ghost, is owned by Derech, possibly one of the top grails in the whole system. But yeah, so that was an interesting thing. There are only 3 going to now. None of them had ever traded other than that one to Snowfro. And then we just minted a 4th. So who knows what they're worth because they don't trade, but kind of a cool mint there. As far as other mints that happened, we had a full spectrum. Basically, every single color within a range of 1 to 2 colors is represented in that squiggle. Already has a 50 WETH bid, so not a bad day at the office. Mint that squiggle and have a $93,000 bid right there for you. A pipe. We showed earlier how one sold just this weekend for a strong price. Really cool bold here, and then a couple fuzzies. So really interesting mints. Congrats to everybody involved. There are about 69 left. 9,931 have been minted till now. Third thing to talk about. This is gonna be quick. Proof Grails go live. As I've told you before, Proof Grails pass holders get a Proof pass holders get a Grail pass. And a Grail pass allows you to pick from about 20 pieces of art. But the key with this is that you don't know who the artist is. So it's really kind of a fun gamified way of collecting. But they went live. Here is Proof saying Grails 4 is live. So far, we've only seen what 4 of those pieces look like. I am showing them to you here. You can see what those 4 pieces are. Curious if you have any idea who the artists are, put them in the comments. I personally am going to know who the artists are before the reveal. So it's because I'm going to be leading a show, I believe on August 11th, talking about them. So I'm going to have to figure out how I talk about them, but thought this was kind of cool. So nice to see that. Fourth thing to talk about, a few big stories in crypto outside of NFTs that felt big enough that I feel like I should just include them. And a couple of these are outside of my areas of expertise, but still did want to cover. One is Curve Finance. Basically discovered over the weekend that a number of their stable pools had been exploited. They basically got hacked as a result of a malfunctioning re-entrancy lock. Re-entrancy is a vulnerability, a type of attack that people put on. Very complex. And what I've heard about this hack is that these are people who are deep in the documentation, who are deep kind of studying the code. This was not an easy hack to execute. But a little bit about it. Why is it important? It's because Curve has over $3 billion in liquidity. It's considered one of the most structurally significant decentralized exchanges for stablecoin swap markets. Likely over $70 million in value was compromised. There was an ethical hacker who did return funds, which people think could have been in like the 5 to 20 million range back to the protocol. But also one of the team members came out and said it was over, everything was safe. And within that, another 5 million was hacked. So a lot of risk here, a lot of vulnerability, just uncertainty when you have these protocols that people think are rock solid when they start to get hacked. Just makes people just cautious in general about the space. Interestingly, we didn't see Bitcoin, Ethereum, some of the majors move down or show any weakness. I think that people generally trust the decentralized aspects of the big majors, but within some of these non-majors, we're starting to see more and more vulnerability. The token, the Curve token, was down about 16%, so showed a little bit of weakness on the back of this. The second story, and yeah, that's kind of where we stand right now on the Curve situation. Not a whole lot more to report there, but I'm sure that will progress over time. The second thing is that there was a big rug that people were talking about, just really kind of finalized this morning. The token is called Bald, and it became one of the first quote unquote altcoin shitcoins on Base. Remember, Base is the L2, the protocol being created by Coinbase. It's called Bald. People, yeah, like if you look at the actual Twitter account for the project, it had Brian Armstrong's head. It's connected to Coinbase. Maybe people thought there was some legitimacy, which clearly had no grounding whatsoever. The dev, though, the person who was behind it, put $12 million of liquidity. And that surprised people. That is a lot of money to put at risk. But people saw that. And as a result, the price of the token pumped because people said, if this dev is putting $12 million at risk behind it, clearly there's something here. People pumped the token. It went up to $100 million in total market cap. The developer was constantly treating encouragement to the speculators, saying easy lads, like saying basically encouraging people to invest, and then suddenly withdrew all his liquidity. And if you look at how much he made versus, or how much he pulled out versus how much he put in, he pulled out about $7 million more than what he put in. So made all of that in just 2 days. Here is him kind of tweeting the encouragement, saying we're the most liquid coin on base, steady lads, still here, kind of encouraging people to stay steady, and then withdrew everything. I thought it was kind of interesting. If you look at his pinned tweet, he said, only official count, beware of scams. Kind of ironic. He was warning us that this guy's a scam. And here's a great tweet. There's a great thread. If you want to learn more about it, THICCYTHOT_. This guy has a great thread where he goes, it kind of does the play-by-play, step-by-step. I don't know what to tell you guys. If you think that a token where you don't even know what it is, it just says BALD, and Brian Armstrong, it has Brian Armstrong's head as the banner for the Twitter. If you think that is a good place to be investing your money, or something that ultimately is going to have value, that really has no purpose other than having BALD and being on Coinbase, one of the first on this L2. But if you think that has value, I don't know what to tell you. Like these things clearly make no sense. Every now and then one runs. You get the Pepes, you get the Sheebs, you get the Doges, and out of that comes so much wealth transfer from everyday degens to the people who create these things. I don't really know what to say, but never like to see that. Last thing to talk about, let's talk about a few notable sales. And Autoglyph sold for 199 ETH. As you know, Autoglyph, the Larva Labs project, one of the first projects to ever put the art fully on chain. This sold for 199 ETH. The buyer in a tweet said it was one of his first NFTs that he ever bought. He was advised by DC investors. So love to see a pure sale like that with someone who's such an OG kind of doing the advising. In terms of other Autoglyph sales, we've seen sales from 155 to 250 ETH as far as the last 4 sales. So nice sale there. Congrats to the buyer and seller. A 4-trait Trippy fur ape by my friend Costa, worked with me in a prior job, was the seller here. This guy minted 77 apes and had really the grails of the grails, but this was listed on Blur and sold for 275 ETH very quickly to Matcha Big Brother. I think there is an argument that this is one of the best apes kind of in the entire Bored Ape collection, even though it's not gold fur, still one of the top apes. Why do I say that? It is a 4-trait ape, so one of the simplest apes there is. Clearly 4 traits tend to get a premium. Trippy fur, double bored. What does double bored mean? It means the eyes are bored and the mouth is bored. Those are 2 traits. The Bored Ape Yacht Club does seem to like those, and it's never been sold. This was minted, and the buyer was the first buyer. So love to see that. There are other kind of grails out there, but this certainly started a conversation about what the most grail of the Bored Apes are. Here are 2 other four traits that sold over the weekend. A multicolored grin sold for 62 ETH, and then a 3D glasses for 42. There was a day where these were real premium NFTs, still fetching, about 2x floor for the multicolored grin. But yeah, these are some of the cleanest apes in the system. Nice to see those sales. A couple Spirit Azukis sold for 65 and 60 ETH. We have just seen a gradual decline in the price of Spirit Azukis. There's 97 of them, I believe, or 98. So they don't sell all that often. Used to be considered one of the absolute top NFTs you could own, kind of across collections. Maybe at 60, 65, you can still make this case, but I think that these are both pretty low prices. Interestingly, with the 60 ETH one, that one sold for 61 ETH and then was dumped 2 hours later into a 60 ETH bid. The buyer the second time was someone who seems to be a diamond hand for Azukis in general. So probably the buck stops there. But the bid right now for Azuki Spirits is down to about 47 ETH. Recent sales, you've had them in the kind of 100 to 130 ETH range, but having a 65 ETH sale for a male Spirit Azuki certainly is very, very low relative to where they have been. In terms of art sales, this piece, Eclectic Social Maniacs by BottoProject, sold for 8.48 ETH. The buyer was KRJB Merchandani. I want to talk about the buyers a little bit more because we need more buyers, and the buyers are the ones who make this possible in conjunction with the artists. So I do want to give those hat tips a little bit more, but really cool BottoProject piece. Now, BottoProject releases art every week, and if you look at their recent sales, they've had them at 4 ETH, 5.7 ETH, with that one at 20 because of Pepe, 4.2. So this was a little bit the high end of where they've been selling. So congrats to the buyer as well as to the project there. And then lastly, one more sale. Last to talk about this piece, 5 ETH, Frozen Bloom by Ilan Derech. We talk about him a lot because he's been prolific and he keeps having sales through the bear. And I believe this 5 ETH sale was the highest one that he has. Again, another artist, you got to see the animation because you see the snowfall, really beautiful stuff. And the buyer, K4KXXX, that is the buyer's CryptoPunk. Love to see it. Congrats there. That is all from me today. I hope you enjoyed the show. Talked about a lot. Tell us what you think in the comments. What do you agree with? What do I did? What do you disagree with? What did I get wrong? Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll be back tomorrow and just about every weekday with another show. Have a great day.